Rome was still asleep. The streets of the great empire lay in silence, broken only by the distant hoot of an owl and the faint rustle of early morning winds drifting between marble columns. But in one corner of the city, light flickered. A small bakery, humble and unremarkable compared to the grand palaces and temples of Rome, was already awake. Inside, the baker, Marcus, bent over a heavy wooden table, his rough hands working the dough with a rhythm he had perfected over decades. The smell of warm yeast, flour, and faint sweetness clung to the air. This was not just bread. For Marcus, each loaf was a piece of his soul. Every morning, as the city slept, he labored alone, kneading, shaping, whispering quiet prayers that his bread would nourish someone who needed it. But tonight, this dawn was different. Marcus knew, though no one else did, that this would be his last loaf. As he worked, Marcus's mind drifted. He remembered his youth, the boy who had once run barefoot through Roman streets, chasing scraps, hungry and forgotten. An old baker had once taken him in, offering him bread when the world gave him nothing. That act of kindness had shaped his life. Now, years later, Marcus had built his own bakery. He was no senator, no soldier, no merchant of riches, but he believed his loaves mattered. They carried warmth. They carried love. Still, a shadow loomed. Rumors had spread through Rome of unrest, of soldiers demanding higher taxes, of neighbors turning desperate. And Marcus himself was aging. His hands trembled more now. His chest often burned when he bent too long. This morning, as he shaped the dough, he whispered to himself, "One last loaf. Let it mean something." As dawn broke, a figure appeared at his bakery door. A cloaked traveler, dusty from the road, eyes weary but sharp. "Bread," the man said softly, voice cracked with thirst. "I need bread." Marcus looked at him curiously. Travelers were common on the great roads of Rome: merchants, messengers, soldiers. But something about this man was unusual. His cloak was torn, yet lined with faded embroidery. His eyes carried both suffering and secrets. Marcus placed a warm loaf in his hands. The stranger gripped it tightly, but instead of biting, he looked at Marcus with intensity. "Do you know," he asked quietly, "that this city may soon burn?" The stranger leaned in, whispering words that chilled Marcus. There are whispers of revolt, of fire, of chaos. Rome is proud, but even the proudest fall. This street, this shop, your bread, all could vanish in smoke. Marcus froze, dough clinging to his fingers. He had heard rumors. He had seen soldiers storming through neighborhoods, but he had dismissed it. Rome was eternal, wasn't it? The traveler tore a small piece from the loaf, eating slowly. "Sometimes," he murmured, "a single loaf of bread is remembered long after empires crumble." Marcus felt his chest tighten, not from sickness this time, but from realization. His last loaf might not only feed someone, it might carry meaning far beyond him. As the stranger left, Marcus noticed a boy watching from outside the bakery window. Thin, ragged, with eyes full of hunger, he reminded Marcus of himself as a child. Marcus smiled softly, beckoning him in. The boy hesitated, then stepped forward shyly. "You want bread?" Marcus asked. The boy nodded. His voice was barely a whisper. "My mother is ill. She cannot eat much, but she dreams of bread." Marcus's hands trembled as he reached for the loaf he had just baked, the one he had promised himself would be his last. He held the loaf, warm and golden, in his hands. This was it, his final creation, the last time his hands would give shape to flour and fire. To give it to a boy and his sick mother, that seemed right. Yet a part of him hesitated. This was his last bread. Shouldn't he keep it as a memory, as proof of his life's work? The boy's eyes, however, silenced the doubt. Marcus smiled, pressing the loaf into the child's hands. "Take it," he whispered, "and remember, bread is not just food, it is hope." As the boy left, Marcus stepped outside. The streets of Rome were stirring, soldiers shouting, merchants arguing, neighbors whispering about fires and shortages. He walked slowly, feeling the weight of age in his bones, and saw the stranger again at a distance. The man gave Marcus a look, not of thanks, but of recognition, as if to say, "Your gift mattered." Marcus didn't fully understand, but something deep in his soul told him the last loaf had gone where it was meant to go. That night, flames spread. Shouts rang through the streets as chaos took hold. Fires licked at rooftops, people fled with what they could carry, and smoke turned the skies red. Marcus's bakery, the place he had built with years of labor, laughter, and love, burned. He stood outside, too weak to fight the flames, his heart heavy but not broken. Because he remembered the boy had his bread. His last loaf lived on even as his walls crumbled. Days later, as ashes cooled, Marcus sat on a broken step. A parchment appeared in his lap. He unfolded it with trembling hands. It was a letter from the traveler. It read, "Empires fall, cities burn, but kindness outlives fire. The bread you gave will be remembered, passed down in stories long after marble turns to dust. Sleep well, baker. You have fed more than a body. You have fed the soul of Rome. Marcus wept quietly, but his heart was full. Weeks later, the boy returned, carrying something in his small hands, the last crumb of the loaf carefully saved. "My mother is better," he whispered. "She says your bread saved her." He placed the crumb in Marcus's palm. It was small, insignificant, yet to Marcus it was greater than gold. His final work had not vanished. It had healed. It had given hope. As the years passed, the story of the baker's last loaf spread quietly among the people. They told it in markets, in streets, in whispers at night. They spoke not of emperors or generals, but of a humble baker who, in his final act, gave bread to a boy and his sick mother. And in that story lived a lesson that greatness is not in power, but in kindness, that the smallest act can echo longer than the mightiest empire. Marcus grew weaker with each passing day, but he faced the end with peace. On his final morning, he sat outside his ruined bakery, the sun warming his face, listening to the sound of children's laughter as they passed by. He smiled softly. He had baked his last loaf, but its warmth still lived, not in ovens, but in hearts. And as the city of Rome marched on, Marcus the baker was not forgotten. His story became a lullaby, a gentle reminder that kindness is eternal, that love, once given, never dies. And so, dear listener, the tale of the baker's last loaf in ancient Rome comes to a gentle close. A reminder that even in the fall of great empires, the simplest acts of kindness, love, and sacrifice can echo far beyond a single lifetime. If this story has brought you comfort tonight, I invite you to subscribe to History Sleep Bedtime Stories, where forgotten legends, ancient journeys, and timeless lessons are lovingly told to guide you into peaceful rest. Close your eyes now, breathe deeply, and let the whispers of history carry you softly into dreams until we meet again in the next story.